Iman Gadzhi is a YouTuber who's seen a ton of success, specifically in social media marketing. He's been documenting his story since just the age of 18. But why is he now one of the fastest growing channels on YouTube? I think it's because the direction of his content has changed significantly. Well, his content has taken a significant turn from financial and entrepreneurial advice to preaching the coming of a dark ages and emphasizing the overall suppression of masculinity. Iman Gadzhi is pointing towards something much deeper, not just a recession or a financial crisis, but a shift in humanity's consciousness. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at the psychology of Iman Gadzhi. So in many of Iman's videos, he talks about this war against masculinity.
Contrary to what they tell you in the media, life for a man is actually quite hard.
And what if I told you that this very same war against men, well, it's happened before in history?
Why is this occurring? It's not just enough to say that there are these groups of people who are running the world and want to just ruin our lives.
You've got social justice warriors controlling the biggest nations, telling you where you can go, who in your family you can visit for Christmas, what you can say on social media, and even what temperature you're allowed to set your heating to.
Rather, we must look deeper, much deeper, into our own human psyche. In order to further understand the psychology of Iman Gadzhi, we can take a look at one of his videos he made about the top 1% man. One of the characteristics he specifically cites is this.
The fourth thing you need in order to become a high value man is some sort of adversity in your life. So either that adversity and hardship is forced on you. For example, with me having to support and take care of a single mother, going through and seeing a lot of things that just made me very angry and upset at the world at a very young age. So there's certain adversity, there's certain challenges that just force certain people to step up. And the unfortunate thing is 80% of the time when men are put through that, they don't step up. They don't pull up their boots, but you simply cannot be a high value man without putting yourself through the fire.
In this, he's painting a very masculine picture of success through hardship. And this is an ancient tale. How many times have we heard of the tribulations of Achilles or labors of Hercules? That only through that suffering and pain can somebody come out on the other side a better person, and in this case, a better man and a more successful man. This is a very ancient and very masculine conception of success. A similar sentiment is echoed by Sigmund Freud, who says, "One day in retrospect, the years of struggle will strike you as the most beautiful." Similar to Iman Gadzhi, Freud has this perspective that men need to get out there. They need to go through the struggles in order to get success, that the struggle is one of the most important parts of success. And this is a very, again, like I've said, masculine perspective. These are traits of masculinity. We have logic, reason, and just pure willpower that motivates somebody through those hard times. These are masculine traits in depth psychology. Let's dive deeper into the concepts of psychological masculinity and psychological femininity. So both men and women have both masculine and feminine traits. Some are distributed unevenly, such as agreeableness, but altogether, everybody has a varying aspect of masculine and feminine traits in them. One point that I think Iman gets wrong, and it's a very important point, he's always emphasizing the war against men.
War against men.
But I think he's incorrect in that it's a war against masculinity that he's trying to refer to, not a war against men. But what does this masculinity mean? What does it represent? And we're going to make a significant jump here, so stick with me. The masculine represents the conscious mind, and the feminine represents the unconscious mind. We can see how the conscious mind might take on some masculine traits, such as logic, rationality, determination, exploration. And we can see how the unconscious mind might take on some feminine traits, such as emotion, stability, and being better in touch with one's own feelings. However, the conscious and the unconscious mind were not always so separate as they are today. In past, they were much more intimately connected, resulting in a different expression of culture and of society. In the past, the feminine essence of humanity was much more in control and led to a different structure of society completely. So what did this look like? The last matriarch we know of is called Katal Hayuk, and it existed around 8,000 years ago and remained for about 2,000 years. The society was a matriarchy and had women at the center of its religious structure, and this resulted in the expression of more unconscious or feminine traits such as stability, harmony with nature, and equality. However, this came at the cost of more masculine traits like innovation, like scientific advances, and reason and logic. So in this case, we can see a kind of give and take. Yes, the feminine-focused society lacked in innovation and scientific advances, but it excelled at promoting stability and equality in its society. So much so that it existed essentially for 2,000 years, almost completely unchanged. Think about other more masculine-dominant societies, such as Europe entirely, and think of how long these empires have reigned. not even that long, and they're constantly being turned over. The instability is just crazy in these masculine dominant societies. So we have to keep in mind throughout this entire video that society, that culture is ultimately a representation of the dynamic between the unconscious and the conscious mind. What I really like about Iman Gadzhi's recent videos is that he's looking at the past in order to try and predict the future. He's looking at the dynamic of these masculine and feminine traits over the course of time, seeing where it will lead us into the future. So what would a shift towards femininity look like? What are some things, some characteristics we could expect to see if society was making that shift? So as discussed previously, a large portion of this concept of the overarching feminine is an emphasis on harmony with nature. We are absolutely witnessing this in the form of paper straws, reusable bags, and even energy restrictions. We would also expect to see some sort of restriction on the masculine, and I think this is where cancel culture and restrictions in speech comes into the conversation. And we have to remember the stuff that Jordan Peterson said, because I think it also relates to this whole idea of masculinity. By restricting speech, you're restricting essentially the conscious mind.
In order to be able to think, you have to risk being offensive.
And throughout this video, we've identified the conscious mind as being primarily masculine in nature. And so by restricting our speech, by restricting our conscious mind, it's a representation of the restriction of masculinity. So to drive this point home even further, I'm going to share with you one more thing that's going to blow your mind. So the last feminine-based society we had implemented this new technique of castration. They turned bulls, the hyper-masculine bull, into an ox that was much more tame and much more usable in society. Similarly, in this society at Khat al-Hayuk, they turned their priests into eunuchs. So by making bulls oxes and by making priests eunuchs, they were quite literally restricting the masculinity of these organisms, of humans and of bulls. Perhaps this is analogous to the restrictions in speech that we see today. It's primarily the men that are starting shit on Twitter, that are lighting these little fires. And culture, at least half of culture, has come and said, no, we don't need this. We need to restrict this. We need to get rid of this. And I'm not here to say that it's good or bad. I'm just trying to explain the dynamic there. So what does the perfect ideal society look like? This is bound to be a question that comes up when we talk about masculine and feminine. And anybody studying psychology at this level will tell you the perfect society requires a harmonious nature, a harmonious relationship between both the masculine and the feminine. We shouldn't be completely masculine. We shouldn't be completely feminine. We should be somewhere in the middle. We need both stability, but we also need advancements. We need a harmonious relationship with nature, but we also need innovation. We need equality, but we also need ambition. So I want to be very clear throughout this video. I'm not saying that these ideas of masculine or feminine qualities are only restricted to male and female. This is not about biological sex at all. Men and women both have masculine and feminine traits, and if society shifts either direction, we're going to see a shift in the individual. And so if society becomes more feminine, men will become more feminine and emphasize those feminine qualities that they already have. The same can be said in the other direction. If society becomes more masculine, women will continue to further emphasize the masculine traits that they have. So I hope you find this video intriguing, especially if you interact with Iman Gadzhi's videos from a more financial perspective. I think that his shift in content requires us to look at it a little bit differently. If you're interested in learning more about this tension between the masculine and the feminine, I highly recommend subscribing because I'll be making more videos about it. And also don't forget to like this video while you're at it. And I'll see you on the next one.